Hello YouTube. Today's project is repairing my ACS, the automatically controlled suspension, on my 2014 RT Limited. If you don't have a Limited, your air spring goes up to the Schrader valve under the seat. If you do have a Limited, you've got the compressor, the ride position sensor, and a solenoid valve, which basically releases air out of the system to drop the rear end when you don't have a passenger. What I had last year on our big trip was the pump was running more than it should, but we were on our trip, so I ignored it. The pump went out. It didn't blow the fuse. When it does that, on the screen, when you try adjusting the basically the ride height, it says manual instead of giving you the gauge on whether it's low, middle, or high. So I ended up just using my little air compressor that I had with me and airing it up. I knew I had a leak. About every time I fueled up, I had to put air in it. Got home, I'd read about the VI air pumps that are basically an aftermarket little compressor. I put that in. It was way louder than the original, and it kept blowing my fuse. And I don't know if that pump went bad or what. I just disabled it there last fall. In the process of that, what I found was the check valve that screws onto the pump, screws on right here. That's what I had leaking. It wasn't my airbag. It wasn't any of these connections. It was that check valve. Just wasn't, completely closing. So to disable the whole system, I unscrewed the line out of that check valve, bought a little 1/8 inch pipe thread plug, plugged it, unplugged the compressor, unplugged the solenoid, and I've just been running manual since then. So now I have a BRP air pump, and I'm going to put it in, and then I'll show you where all this stuff is. So if you ever have that trouble, you can do what you need to keep going. So here we go. First step is removing all the body panels back to the rear cargo area. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to do these. If you know how to do it, you can fast forward till we get to the meat of this video. always forget this one. Okay, next we're going to pull the seat off. Let me get that strut loose first. And we're going to shove a rag down into this hole between these two hinges for the seat. And when we're done here, or I'll show you where that hole goes to, because what I'm going to do is pull this rear cargo assembly off, and I'm going to show you literally how easy it is and how easy it makes working on this system. There's a 10mm bolt that goes into a captured area where the nut slides right there. So that's what we're getting out. We're pulling out these two 10mm bolts for the hinges of the seat, and these nuts will slide out of there. So if you keep your finger back here where the nut is, you can just catch it and set it aside when you get the bolt out. Not worry about losing it. You got the bolt and the nut. Do this other side. Okay, so I need to still unplug the passenger sensor. I should have done that first. Then I could use both hands easier. Okay. And then inside the hinges of this seat are little aluminum bushings. Make sure you don't drop those out. Right here. Okay. The seat's off, the side panel's off, and gives you access to most of this stuff. What I did when I disabled it for last fall so I could just keep riding is I just put a plug in the compressor. I taped this, zip tied the hose. I put an 1/8" pipe cap over the fitting that actually goes into that check valve. The sizes are 7/16 and 9/16. What I did to disable it, and then I also unplugged this solenoid. So this is like the shed or the relief solenoid. Unplugged it, taped it off. I also unplugged my pump up here and taped it off. So basically I have, since last August, or end of July. I've had just a standard air it up as you go. Haven't had any issues with it, but I want it back just to make it easier. So now I am going to remove this rear cargo. And to do that, we need to take these covers off. And unplug these controls. This Schrader valve is kind of a locking thing. See it's got a shaved flat washer in there that locks into this frame. So 11 millimeter, just go counterclockwise and then it's loose. And then wiring, yours might not look like mine because I have a gear brake which flashes my brake lights when I step on the brakes, and then I also have my trailer harness in here. So this here is the brake harness, and that is where yours will be. So slide it off and unplug that, and then unplug this one. These are on slides on the frame, so you can get those loose. So all this is going to come off with this rear cargo. And then there is a big ground strap here that's tied between the cargo and the frame, so I'm going to get that off of there. Just put the bolt back in there so I don't lose it. And we got some wires over on this side to get excuse me. Okay, so I need to cut this harness because we need to unplug this audio cable, and then I'll snip this one. Need my flashlight. And this is some, from me disabling that, some extra zip ties I put in to hold stuff. Okay. We'll free up this guy. So that's the air line that goes to the compressor. Yeah. And then there's a connector right there. To get that loose. Okay. because that stuff all goes with the radio. And slide it off its keeper. Has another one of those frame slides. And I'll just put this up here. I think that's all the wiring. Trigger valve's loose. Okay, here we go. I will confess, the first time I did this, I used an impact driver to pull these bolts, and they have like spot welded nuts on the inside of these frame rails that go across to mount this to, and I broke that one loose from the frame. So don't use impact drivers to remove these bolts. So because of that, now I have to use a ratchet and a socket on the bottom of that bolt. Makes it kind of a pain. Those are 13 millimeter. And the only other bolts we have, these lateral braces or whatever they are, right here. One on each side. 10 millimeter. Have to come off. Same position on the right side. And if you don't have the GPS mounted on your Spyder, I'm pretty sure that's what all this is for. All right. This thing's ready to come off of there. So now the question is, do I go ask my wife for help, or do I throw my back out? I better go ask her for help. I can't believe I'm acting so weak. I'm not asking for help. I'm a man. Ooh. So, here we go. Whew. There. Didn't need no help. Now we need to get this splash guard off of here. There's 4 push pins. Come on. Two on the back, 1 on each side. And then it just slides right out. And this one's kind of hard to get with pliers. So we'll just pull them clear out. And it just slides out. Oh, so when you drop something down that black hole behind the seat into here, it's about, what, 2.5 inches from these rear bolts. So here's where the rear bolts go on. So it drops right into this area. So if it's real small, it can go down here on top of that splash guard, or it can head down your frame and end up going down that into the same spot, but through this wire chase here. Okay, so there's the compressor. Let me get my tools rounded up and we'll get it out of there. Okay, 10 millimeter and 10 millimeter. These clamshell clamps, I kind of I bent them around so they fit this VI air pump, and I didn't, so I used all the same hardware. So I'm going to have to do a little remanipulation of those to make them fit the original pump again. I'll spare you that headache. Okay, the plug is unplugged. I unplugged it and taped it off when I disabled it. I think you could probably pull a relay that runs this, but I don't know. Maybe when I'm done I'll look it up and let you know. And the original pump, the wiring for it had one of those, you know, it was, I think it was right on the plug. It was plugged in right behind that pump on that frame. Can't remember if it was down there on the shock tower or up on the top. Let's look at it. This is the original plug. I cut off the original pump. Yeah, see, it has a broken, you about have to break it to get it off of the bike. And it was either, thinking it was right here, right above the shock bolt, but it may have been up here in this area too. It was kind of hard to get to. Not anymore. Here's the bike end of the harness for the compressor. So I am going to make these brackets fit a stock pump again, so I'll be back. I've got these brackets, so they're going to work again after having them altered. The new harness here does have that clip on it, so I am going to go ahead and put it where it was, which is right here, and go ahead and plug that in. Okay, now the pump sits up in here like this. These clamshell brackets are the same, so there is no front or back or right or wrong here. Oh, I gotta get down further. Help if I was in the right slots. Okay, so nothing's getting pinched. So here we go. Just to hold it in place, I think I'll Put a zip tie here, and then I can manipulate it a little better. So now the pump is in place. Okay. Now, I'm going to get that put back together, the air line off the compressor. And just so you know, when you order a new compressor, it does not come with a new check valve, of course. Because why would it? When, as far as I'm concerned, and my experience is, the check valve is what caused the problem. So I did order a new check valve as well. And this is all get-toable by, you know, just taking panels off. You can get to this area right here. So in the future, like, part of my service is going to be measuring, like, from the bottom of the mud flap to the ground the night before, and then the next day, if it's lost any, part of my service is going to be taking this out and either replacing it or cleaning it, and make sure that this doesn't happen to me again. Okay, I did plug the air solenoid back in, and we'll get these wires up here, and then just to check all the clearances. Slide this in where it goes. And that all looks good. I can't remember where this one went originally. Oh, I think it was zip tied right there on this one. So this is the end of a zip tie that plugged into a hole, and I don't have any of those. So I just snipped the zip tie and pulled it out of itself. And I should be able to, yeah, just use that as an anchor point here for these wires, and maybe the I think that audio wire off the radio, maybe the power wire for the GPS also is going to go up there. So now I can get my push pins back in for that thing. And I am going to get help putting this back together because I don't want to break anything. So I'll be right back. Okay, we are ready to put this back on, and my very irritated wife is going to help me.
You need to start over because you're not
Why?
putting that on there.
Fine. Okay. We're ready to put this back on. My wife's going to help. She did not thank me for taking it off by myself. Is she going to? Nope. Okay, here we go. Okay, thanks, honey. Bye.
You're welcome.
Let me get that on before I forget. Now, my self-inflicted wound here. Before I put anything down, I'm going to get these lateral supports started. And I'm not tightening those down until all these are tight. And these are those split type, I don't know, body nuts. I'm not sure what they're called. Okay. Better get this in there. Okay. This is for the GPS, I think. And then it's got a slide there to go on the frame, right? There we go. Okay, I'm gonna jack this up so I can see better, and probably you can too. This is that zip tie that's hooked right into the frame. Then we've got this audio cord. And it was not taped before, but I taped it last time and I'll tape it back up again. And I did put dielectric grease in it the last time I did it too. Okay. All right. Generally, I zip tie wires just to keep them from rubbing on metal stuff, so that's why I'm doing that there. Tape up these wires so they're not going to rub into the sharp edge of that gas tank. Okay. And then the lighting harness. Get on there. There we go. This is the seat. That's the passenger controls there. Okay, now we'll put these covers back on. This front bolt is when that side cover goes on. So don't put it on yet. Okay. It does help having a ball end Torx bit, but it's not mandatory. Next is the seat. Okay, there are these two little holes here. So when I put this together, I usually stick a rag in there, because if this nut slides out after you put it in, before you get your bolts started in it, they tend to end up right in there. So I'll put these in here for now. And that there. And hopefully you can see that there's slots that those bushings slide into. So then you just slide it back. And these nuts go flat side toward the bolt. So this slot, or this part of it, goes outside into that slot. Okay, that one's started. That one started. Then we'll put this back on, and then we'll put the body panels on before I make the seat adjustment here. Get on there. Okay. So on this one, there's these two hooks here that go down over this piece, so make sure you get them just so that's all in there, nice and tight in the way it's supposed to be. The little short bolt goes up here. And then the three with no washers go here. Okay. unhook this and then push the 3 grommets in. Again, make sure you get those hooks over that, which this side didn't. Come on, get in there. Okay. Battery's dying. One side or the other. Always gives me fits. Okay, we will see if it works here. And I almost forgot to tighten the seat up. And almost forgot to plug in the passenger sensor. So I don't know what the right way to do the seat, because it is adjustable, right? There's kind of slots where those bolts go back there. What I do after all the body panels are on, I put it down and just latch it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly where it needs to be. So now I'll tighten these bolts up. Okay, and then pull my rags out. And we'll see if this thing works. So, put it in gear, put it in first, and it's airing up. Okay, I think tomorrow I might hook it up to buds and set the position sensor on it. So we'll see how that goes. So I checked the ride position sensor on buds, and it was right on the money. It's kind of a weird, awkward thing to do, so I didn't video any of that. I did want to add right at the end here, when I had my first stock pump go bad, it did not blow the fuse. The fuse is the one, it's number 5 on the right fuse box as you're sitting on the bike. It's a 25 amp fuse. So the first time, the pump just quit working. I put this VI-Air 97C pump, which a lot of people use, and it obviously pulls more amps than the stock pump. And so anyway, it was blowing that fuse. And when it did that, you do not have, and this is a 14, I don't know what the different years are, but you don't have the horn, and you don't have fog lights when that fuse blows. I've read that you can pull this R4, which is the load shedding relay, which is this one right here, that you can pull that to disable it. I just did that, and you lose your fog lights, your pump doesn't work. The air solenoid that releases the air still works. So say you disable it just by pulling that relay, you're not going to have fog lights. If you pull the fuse, you're not going to have a horn or fog lights. So say you and your wife go somewhere, you air it up manually, stop at a gas station, she goes in the gas station, this is what happened to me, and you pull away from the gas pump and go park, and it sheds that air. So then you have to manually air it back up, and that's why I had that air solenoid unplugged, so it wouldn't shed air. So just something to keep in mind. I already carry, you know, the T30, the push pin pliers. I carry those in my kit. I'm going to start carrying a 7/16, and it'll just be a stubby one, and that cap, that pipe cap. Where'd it go? This thing, 1/8 inch national pipe thread. So if it happens to me again, all I'm going to do is unhook that air solenoid and unhook the air line from the check valve, and then just cap that air line, and then just turn it into a manual one. Basically, if I need to, I'll unplug the wires to the pump, but if it happens again, it's gonna, these pumps don't blow that fuse, and I don't like running without being able to use a horn or my fog lights. Just some info for you to make your own educated decisions with. Have a great day.